time to jump into the 11th match of the 11th hour. We wait to see who can push into that top 8 and get some money after all of this damn hard work, Rich. These teams have been fighting incredibly hard for this, not just that top spot, but just a chance to walk away with some cash.
Yeah, I like what Martin said on the desk. I know people and teams are going to be down at the bottom looking and thinking, good Lord, this is a hell of a job. But still, even for those down at the bottom, this is a money match. There is money to be made. And if you can get a win under your belt and a couple of kills in the bag, you will be able to make a massive jump in the leaderboards. When we look towards the middle, it's not too far out. All right, FaZe, it starts to jump around 5th place. 73 points below them, Avangar with 58. But from 58 all the way down for 14th place of 3D Max, for me, that's kind of one game. 37 points, 10 points for a win. If somehow you do another 10 to 15 kills, that's 10 or 15 kills at a point each, you can quite easily jump up into the money bracket. We'll take a look at the map now. The plane, pretty good. It's a little bit cruel if you're anybody who likes to loot more towards the west around Hospital through Gatka and IP. Takes a while to get to their usual looting positions, which is South Georgia Pole. Avangar, that's a very different stance from them. They're out of the plane early and straight boots on the ground. They're a North Georgia Pole team, but this time they find themselves in Se7en. Maybe that causes some problems for Ence later in the game.
Oh, here we go.
Well, speaking of causing problems, for Ence, them and Avangar are now the furthest away from the circle. Can we appreciate that we now have had more circles, more military island circles, both in this competition, in the group stage, in the main stage, in London, than we ever had in PEL actual Pro League season?
Okay, so who does this play well for, who sits within that top 8 spot? My eyes instantly go to Unity. Instantly, I'm thinking these guys, one, they have Novo. I was a little worried through the group stage when they weren't being so proactive. They adjusted during group stage and then really started to turn up. Northern Lights sit quite nicely there, but I'm not looking at them in that higher position spot. Beyond that, FaZe, not a bad position for them either. They can jump off this quite nicely. And Digital Athletics, I guess they're kind of more central on the map, but they have plans for this. They know what they have to do. I don't know.
Okay, so some slight changes here. I think Northern Lights, they're obviously in the best position. Yeah. They're central of the map, they're central of the circle. They'll have the entirety of the military base, but now teams will become aware, and no BM intended here, of their skill level. It will come a point where teams say, okay, it's NLT, let's hold W and get some free kills. I'm sorry, but that's where it comes down to at this point. When you're down at the bottom of the board with 19 points, people understand the skill they're going up against and can just walk through them. Very different this time. Okay, Liquid's going early. We're used to that. I just want to touch on this one. Yesterday, though, the Jokers, they tapped them up on the bridge.
Yep.
That took out Samty's tires. They turned and faced. They did not expect an aggressive stance out of Liquid. It was a great call to rally the troops, turn around, and take the fight. And they murdered them. But this time, we see one player from Jokers getting ahead of the game. He's gone all the way on to Sosnovka now to get them a foothold in this one. But he's only a solo, Lauren. A solo against 2 teams of 4s. If NLT or Liquid find him, you're dead.
Yeah, but remember what happened to FaZe when they were, it was just one player and they lost out. I think it was one of the Avangar players potentially. I'm not even sure who it was who caught them. But they lost out so early on. Uber got picked up super early. So one player can still be a threat, even if you get traded in on. At this point, you could imagine it will be traded favorably towards Liquid. They should have a 2-1 trade at worst. But they still have all the cards here. This is something I like about Liquid, and I like about the teams who move early. They favor the positioning over early game loot, and they can always supplement that later by simply enough racking up a hell of a lot of kills.
If you're wondering why teams are splitting off into different vehicles, if you are new to competitive PUBG, it's basically just simply it's better to spread out men as much as humanly possible rather than have them all in one vehicle. If the vehicle goes up in smoke, you lose all of your team. It's better to have basically a variety of vehicles. You can use the UAZs to give you a bit of cover, but they are slower. The bikes, very small shot line, but they are open. There's not as much defensive, but they are fast and quicker and harder to hit. So a variety is always good. And it's better to have single bodies in vehicles rather than committing 2 or 3 or 4 to 1. Liquid will take refuge just on the outskirts. DA, it's time for them to move. And actually, Samsa will be in front of him. If Samsa turns around and sees Mert, Mert's actually been Was that a tire gun? It is. I'm seeing some sparks on the road here. DA, they have to turn and face away from this one. 6mo hit in the background. Backy also will be damaged. Hits him in the back of the head. Now he's forced to ditch this one. They have to take this fight. We'll see how this approach goes. 6mo forced back onto the hillside, and he's basically going to be skylining as soon as he goes over that one. They'll be able to get the health back. But unfortunately, look at the tracer fire. That's Desperados. They went early with a boat, Lauren.
They did. They're on the other side here. They're actually on the military island itself. So a little bit of pressure towards 6mo. A beautiful death. Mer, if he went down on that side of the hill, whereas Tornado Energy don't yet have anyone on the beach of Milka to apply pressure. No one's really going that way. Fuzz, Face, and the boys. Uh-oh, we've already got a pull up here. Oh, Yamos just got pulled out of the car, should I say, as the Jokers try and swing across towards Ferry Pier. And Team Liquid are kind of the final bosses. It looks like Zoekt Een Naam have had a couple of issues trying to traverse past shelter, potentially. I think they may have just flipped a bike, maybe. But yeah, that eastern bridge is definitely off boundary now, because you've still got Unity in the south here, too.
Do you know who's paid dividends more than anything? It's FaZe. They've committed all 4 players to one vote, and they're going to go on this. Oh, I'll stop for a second. Looks, feels the wrath of Liquid camping the bridge. They've not gone as deep as what they normally do. Instead, they'll play the bridge trap and rack up as many points as they humanly can. Besiktas turn around and says, nope, not having any of this, son. I'm gone.
Yeah, Tom's off. He's literally turned tail and ran away. You did have Ibi kind of watching the backside as well. He's slightly further back on the hill. He's the kind of player you can see just on the mini-map there. But he is further away. This is the eastern bridge with 3, potentially almost 4 teams coming in here as Tornado Energy is starting to fly into the water. They've got themselves on the ground here. I think Unity are aware of this. Looking at where Orange Snow is spotting, he definitely knows there's a chance of it.
It's going to be messy over here. Just to really quickly touch on what we mentioned over FaZe. Unity, because they've heard all this action going down, they've pulled up here, just at the crossroads once you get off the bridge. That gives FaZe free... He just runs someone over. I mean, that was a confirmation. They did get the run over at the kill earlier on the knock, and now it's just the run over from the initial one. He's actually jumped that. He's jumped the water and just hit it with full force and gone into the little island.
Orange Snow should have perfect execution level here on Compot. I'm surprised that Tornado Energy didn't expect someone on that side of the bridge or to be holding that. That's why they beached their boats. That's why they already flew themselves into the water. And now the problem is 6mo's in the middle of this. Samsa's down there. This is really sloppy on the eastern bridge. And there's more people turning up now.
For where Unity have gone on Novo, there's 2 ways you can play this. You can do what Unity's done and get involved and camp down the bridge, lock it down, pick up kills, do a lot of damage to teams that want to come this way. The problem is, once these shots start to ring across the map, other teams will turn and face and opt to not go across the bridge. The other play they could have done, sat down in Novo, either looked out into the ocean, people going by, like FaZe, for example, or waited to see if anyone rocked up at Nova. We've seen it before where a team will make landfall and just get murdered on arrival.
Gaxi.
That's a beautiful shot. Back of the head. Out he goes.
Oh, he's got the perfect aim on Azrin too. If he hits one more shot.
Get the second.
I can see it happening too. Azrin tries to turn the boat and get out of there, find an angle for safety, but this is quite scary. This is a very low HP player here. Gets out the boat and going to try and get maybe a heal off. But we do see FaZe finally making land. Team Liquid did move to the south. They've given up the compound they held, an area to the Jokers and Besiktas. And Maxi confirmed, done for.
The only problem now is that NIP's position will be given away either by sound or by that one player on the opposing side. I actually don't know either. I didn't quite see whether he got out of the boat in water or whether he's beached it. If he's beached it, he's just basically lost all his maneuverability. He won't be able to get back or get across the military island. They'll have to go and find another boat. So I'm interested to see whether he's actually beached that one or just jumped out in water. If he jumped out in water, it was a smart play. And Noctiv does find Vard in the kill feed. And again, NIP give away their position by taking that early engagement, getting the one. The question is it worth the trade? This is a pawn for a pawn on a chessboard.
They're both in the blue as well, Rich. This is such a horrible battle, because even if you win this, you're still got so long to run. You've got so little, utility left. You burn through your meds. This hurts. They're pretty far out here. So for them, there's got to be a limit on when you go. But NBS finds another angle, and Avangar are losing out on players.
When you're going to get knocked at this stage in the game outside the blue instantly, all they have to do is just knock them and leave them.
So
they're not going to get a res on it. He'll hear the boat eventually, heal up, finally gets an eye line on it. I think they'll commit to this and try and seal the deal on Avangar.
Would be too surprised. NBS hoping the shots hit. 3, 2, 1, reload time. There's the rotation from Liquid, sending it straight back to where they kind of started. They gifted this ground over to Besiktas, to Jokers. They've somehow gotten away with it, and Ence are finally arriving on the scene. They had a very long way to go, but they're finally out of the blue.
I'd like to know, and I didn't quite watch the map to confirm this, but I'm wondering if Liquid were being proactive. If they got in the vehicles, took a couple of kills, and then moved all the way down to the southern beachhead to watch for anybody that made landfall, like what Se7en are doing now. They may have gone there, protected it, then realised, okay, there's going to be a lot more teams on here. Let's go back and re-rotate to where we were because of the circle. So they're pretty much exactly where they started. Na'Vi will get themselves into this one. And remember, when I was talking about Novo, Unity have repositioned. They've gone back to this place so they could do exactly what I've said and look for players coming... His vehicle rolled down the hill! No, press F! It was going well. The idea was there. And then somewhere in the distance, in the mystical server, the essence of Scoom is alive. And he gets run over by a wild, loose vehicle. But the idea was there. You can play Novo in two different ways. The interesting factor will be whether or not Unity commit to this, send two along this ridgeline, as you can just see in the distance, and basically try and follow Ence in. You love to see it, don't you? It is amazing.
It was the double thud. It was just like, what? I can watch that for hours. I'm a simple person. Yeah, Unity are trying to box him in. You're absolutely right. Na'Vi could be a bit of a spoiler to this, though.
Are they actually being this cruel? I think Unity have been this cruel. I want to get the map and show you the position. They've basically set up on the beachhead and now forced Ence to go back to Novo. They've gone for a 2-2 at opposite ends of the cliff faces. Clearly they've read this one because they've not gone to where Sadovnik has repositioned the vehicle. Put the brakes on, boys. You saw what happened before. It rolls off, but doing that has now given away the information to Ence that the rest of Unity is lingering.
Yeah, but they still have to go this way. And look at that high ground position coming in. They should be able to get this from up on above. Squeaky first to fall. The nades, the vert nades are not working this time. And sure, the damage is good. This heal should... No, the vert nade is excellent. I lied. I told you a fib. Mika's got both of them. And where is the backup? It's still running across the road, desperately trying to get there as fast as they can. Mikas wants these kills. They're trying to crawl away. You're not going to get away with this. Oh, here comes the cavalry. Finally turning up. Orange Snow is there. They catch out Mikas. This is sloppy. This is messy. This is not what either team want, but it's what they're going to get. Unity are being cruel. They are being nasty, nasty boys. But Ence are trying to fight back as finally NIP and Avangar are getting... Do it.
What's going on with the vehicles? Oh my. And I'm wondering now, have Unity just given away both of their vehicles? Have they just left the brake off and they've just gone for it? That wasn't planned. If it was, I'd be surprised.
I would love it if it was planned.
I think they've left the car. I honestly think they just left the brake off 3 vehicles and they've all gone into the water. If you've just been punished because now you're in the blue and have dropped the ball. Calvin Klein, speaking of vehicle, here's the pull-up, Lauren. There's 2 inside the shack and all of a sudden Fake has the information. Then the grenade's there. What damage can it do though?
Yeah, I'm worried though when you peek these windows. That's a really nice angle he's found just by hopping up on that little bit of a barrel. And the nade is surely gonna just end this one. If it goes through, it does. Is that a third party or is that the backup finally arriving? Because these shots are coming in. That
must be a third party because all of a sudden Tornado Energy, I'm surprised they've beaten Ence to 16th place. Good Lord, boys, what happened there?
I do not. It's gone very badly wrong.
Those vehicles. Ence and basically Unity, they now have to fight off against the blue. They committed to the fight. You could question yourself later on in the game, say, was this really worth it? Unity definitely, in my opinion, wasted 3 vehicles by not putting the handbrake on. It's a downhill. All right, it was a bit of fun to see them flying by, but it's cost them. There's no vehicles left. They're now going to have to walk over the hill and far away. How much further they won't find any in these. If they're going uphill up here, there's literally nothing. It's open ground. You have to take the roads if you want to look for these.
That blue's getting further and further away from them. That's the problem. Safety is not close by. FaZe still looking for comfort. They have found an eastern entry to this. Zoekt Een Naam to the north. You have the military base to the south of them. And we'll see if this kicks off. It looks like they're going to go past each other. And we see everyone kind of in position. 2-1-1 for Team Liquid. Jeems on his own. GMT a little further away. We have Samty and Ibby together. NIP have made it in on the western front. The Jokers hold good ground, as do 3D Max.
As things have calmed down now and the madness has gone past the circle, as you can see, it did shrink. A little bit of water in as we move to phase number 4. There will be the multiply, so we know it's going to come down more towards the south. I have no idea how, but Ence found a vehicle, and there's 2 of them in it continuing onwards. Unity probably actually beat them to the circle. But once they arrive at the circle, we have Na'Vi, we have NLT, we had Se7en. They're all posted up on the southern embankment. In the middle, we have 3D Max. Just their right-hand side, we have FaZe. I'm seeing quite a lot of tracer fire on the map. Everyone's starting to read where teams are going to be posted up.
I think there are 3 Orms up at the moment, I think. We might see that later in the game if they can carry them on to late game. Azrin trying to squeak in. Just about makes it.
They had 2 crits, right? They had a Mark 4, a Mark 14, and an Orm. So NLT are geared. If there were a good chance for NLT to actually make a stance, it would be now. The circle also keeps them in, Lauren. We still have a hell of a lot of teams.
Southeast side. The entirety of the east, Rich. Jeez.
Center of the circle's kind of dead.
Oh, Sadovnik's gone down in the blue. I think Unity went for this kind of, not necessarily BM, but they were really trying to punish Ence, and it's paid off awfully. They've gone down in 15. That's such a big loss. That opens up potentially those top 5 spots for someone new to kind of wipe their way through, as they were in 3rd place. Avangar, if they have a good ending, but they're already suffering. They're down to only 1 player, if I'm not mistaken, so that's not a great opportunity for them. Besiktas maybe eyeing up further time for Se7en to get further ahead, but they're losing our numbers. We're seeing those Orms going into play. That is in Northern Lights' hands. Buster received that big bullet coming through, and he's now on the ground, and it looks like, I don't know if it's a 3rd party. No, it will be Quizzy claiming that one as Edelweiss is being picked up. Se7en not looking so good here either.
Was that 2 separate Orms then? Or was it 1 player? Because if that was 2 separate Orms, that means that NLT has 3 crates.
Yes,
a Mark 14 and 2 Orms. That's absolutely disgusting. Multiply that by the fact that they're going to be wearing level 3 gear as well. NLT right now is completely tanked up. Ence will be on the back lines and back up, still hiding kicking somehow. The 2 players there, the spray down from Page to try and find something. He does follow up at least with a headshot onto Pokemon Ladoy. Meanwhile, in the north, Samty finds Bambaki. Down he goes. And that fight itself is going to be problematic because you have 4 teams, DA, Jokers, NIP, and the last man standing from Avangar, all tucked in into one little compound.
Tom Hill's angle is so good here, though. Look at Page trying to find safety, and Besiktas put him up further than everyone else at the moment. Simzy having to pull himself back here because there's 2 fights coming their way. Zoekt Een Naam and Na'Vi all trying to get on that eastern side. The south is no better either. Ence hold the line there. The north has the Desperados. This is very tough. To get past Besiktas right now, they are controlling the wall.
They're also sitting in 6th, so if they could clear out a few of these teams just behind them.
This could be a jump on a Vanguard here if they keep racking up the bodies. Senya's going to find that one, but will he confirm? Will he flush on it? I'm not sure if anyone else can spot that. I don't think the line of sight is being provided by Besiktas' new spot, but they could be working towards Desperados if they keep going north here. And again, we are seeing Edelweiss getting knocked by Quizzy. That Orm is going off here.
I'm so glad you touched on that because Besiktas in the back lines. You've got this fight in what we're looking on your screens right now. Senya goes for it. Miraku over on the western side. Calvin Klein does open up onto tunnel. Now Besiktas, the fighters basically approach them. TownZero though, 2 players from it. What just happened? Everything went wrong. Besiktas went off. Both teams, though, broken and battered. Do you go for the confirmation here, or do you get your players up? This is an IGL nightmare. You have to pick your fight.
Yeah, but Zoekt Een Naam's on the way as well. If they get here quick enough, this could be problematic. Ence finally meet FaZe, but Digital Athletics in the back lines. It will be between Na'Vi and FaZe to confirm these kills, get the points in the bag. FaZe are not out of the woods just yet either. They still have potential 3rd parties, but no one close by. We are seeing 3D Max finding the Desperados as well. They've swung out east. Look at 3D Max. They're getting aggressive on this one. The fights continue in between the Jokers and such and so on. That's with NIP. That's over the road, but that eastern side is still a bloodbath. We have to look towards this. 3D Max moving in. FaZe holding their Na'Vi, trying to get in towards this one. Zoekt Een Naam rocked up and get pushed out. You do not get past them. This fight has yet to find the winner.
Vascu does go down. He's found by Desperados, the last player standing for them. So unfortunate for them, they will go out. He was playing off the black of the blue. The problem is for TownZero, Besiktas did get themselves back up off the floor. Na'Vi have been punished. NLT just sitting back had an open vision of this because they were stood just on top of the apartment blocks, which allowed them to use those arms and basically just interject themselves while all that fight was going on. Let's not forget, Liquid and Jokers. We still have this fight all the way on the western embankment. The Jokers are down, but not out. Avangar Azverin is holding on for his dear life. I think he's just been spotted. Se7en still biding their time. They're waiting this one out to see who's left and who's going to be standing in front of them. DA, they've made a bit of an overzealous run here. It's kind of paid off for now because they're inside the circle, but basically it leaves them open to many angles from Liquid Liquid.
It really does for the fight now. NIP trying to move forward, not going to get away with it. NIP are eliminated in 12th. You've seen Azarin go down. That's another team who's up within the top 5 gone. Unity and Avangar losing out in this one. It keeps the game exciting. Besiktas maybe looking to jump points here. Digital Athletics potentially jumping points, and even maybe the Desperados if they can really put up numbers. But they are suffering on the Eastern Front. They are not having a good time here. They've already had a couple of fights come their way, but oh, look who's coming around. Look who's pushing up. Northern Lights sending their place to the east. This is insane. Muxie's heard this. No, or has he?
The sniffer dog has gone to find a foothold on the mountainside.
I think he's noticed
I mean, they have to be careful, right? Because them arms are still lingering. There's one bullet. Mexie's like, nope, nope. Time to run, boys. We have teams incoming. NLT still sitting back here. So perfect kills while he is in a good position. He's only a one-man band. And also, just be aware in the back lines, Na'Vi are going to reposition shortly. And they're also...
They could sweep out Northern Lights.
Basically at the foot of that hill. Okay. Northern Lights are actually being looked at. There is a response there. Perfect kills will get involved. Maicho.
FaZe are moving back in. They've heard the engagement begin. Maicho has found Senya. That's kept them on their toes. But now look at FaZe. Better in a fighting position. They can re-engage on this one if they want to. It's a bit risky, but why not do it? Ibby's found D's in the meantime. That's over with Liquid. Still fighting fights on that eastern front. Actually, the western front. They're watching the teams move up from the southern side. Moon's trying to send it, but right towards Se7en, who are going to get points for this. That's 2 big points in their pockets. Edelweiss and Frank are going to find those. Northern Lights stay alive, but FaZe have moved back to hold the line, and Besiktas wait in the east for anyone who tries to hug that circle edge.
It was a really good play from FaZe, opt to not take this one and actually move back because they know that NLT basically have to crest a ridgeline. They have to come up that hillside, and it's a very weakened disadvantage to them. Besiktas are holding foot, and so Desperados, and rightfully so because both teams have 2 players alive.
Se7en, they're going to be the next in trouble.
That's
they're in second place.
Though, right? Because it's been provided from where they moved to. They felt they retreated essentially.
How has teams gone past this way? Digital Athletics are about to gatekeep out kind of Team Liquid on their aggression. Good Trace comes back in, no shutting down Mert. Digital Athletics now starting to suffer. They had a weird split. Jeems somehow got ahead. That might have provided misinformation to the rest of Liquid that this was potentially clear. Bambaki is now left in no man's land. A beautiful death further ahead than maybe he'd want. He was one trying to find Se7en. And the nades are very close by, but they do stay alive. And now there's threats for Team Liquid. They cannot take this lightly. They need to clear this out as they go, and they're doing just that. Bambaki goes down. And now Digital Athletics, this could have been a big game for them, have been quelled. Now Beautiful Death has to play that late game. Desperado's on the receiving end. 3D Max have turned up in the north. You do not get to slip past these guys.
They'll hit the deck. And I think he'll be hitting the coffin anytime soon. And all of a sudden, Phantom gets the read, gets the information, passes it. Noki helps him out. Job done. Both players gone. They fall. Besiktas try and finish off what's left of them. But by doing so, they'll give away the position. They'll remain exposed from the back. Tommel's the last man standing now for Besiktas with 2 different teams. Actually, they make that 3.
Oh, the Orm. That thing just sounds terrifying, doesn't it, Rich? You can hear it rattling through. 3D Max catching that one, but FaZe are about to start the gatekeeping game, but it's a dangerous one. You're against Orms, MK14s. You've got a lot of firepower coming your way, and it's on high ground. That is not a comfortable situation, and neither is Tom Hills. He's trying to work up. These shots coming through are landing, but look at Moxie. Quizzy is so close. Does he know what's around this corner? Peekaboo, the fire comes out. Moxie goes down. That's that high ground coming through. Northern Lights have got themselves a good spot, but they need to deliver the shots. Quizzy being tagged is not good. He needs to slow down, get the heal off, and get back in the game. Reposition coming in from Perfect. Quizzy gets the heal, but the nade is in the pocket. He can't get away from it. Tom Miller's found 3D Max in the north, but Fuzzface is shutting down Northern Lights here. They've held players alive. They've lost out on 1, but they still control the circle.
The bombardment of grenades will keep on going. Mexi avoids them, though, by denying line of sight to them. They'll stay alive for now. But Fuzzface and the rest of FaZe Clan, they may have a response. You talked about the arms, you talked about the sniper rifles. Yes, they're good, but in this close of an engagement, you can't really utilize them.
Put on a red dot, Rich. You'll slap.
I mean, the biggest utilization these players have is the fact, don't forget, they're wearing level 3 gear. They can take these fights. They get a bit more of a chance than FaZe Clan does. If they can knock a couple of players, the response will be slow, but the problem is FaZe,
a beautiful death.
They've all opted to go for ARs.
Hold on. A beautiful death is still holding the south. He's making this very tricky for Northern Lights. He might get swept aside, but look at the damage he's done towards him. And while this has all happened, Team Liquid have just done this rotation clockwise. He did get countered. He was forced to fight, and he suffers for it. He falls. Digital Athletics go down. Good placement, but not ideal. Now we see 5 teams remaining. 3D Max has 1 player alive. Northern Lights getting in trouble, but it's FaZe to fall. Phantom found that. He was the isolated player in the small kind of yellow houses here, but he must have had a really nice angle to catch out FaZe. A revive has potential, but do the Northern Lights come back up?
This is where it gets problematic for FaZe. Phantom can basically pin them down and say, okay, well, this angle now we can no longer take. We cannot crest that hill because we may lose another player. The problem is, because of where NLT repositioned to, they can now make use of those big boy guns. They can put them to use. They've got the arm, they've got the Mac 14. They now have the space and the range to actually do some damage. Before, they're not really going to be impactful up close and personal for the simple fact that everyone else is using ARs. I don't think they can really do much in terms of longevity, but they could throw a spanner in the works for somebody. Jeems oversteps the boundaries and somehow finds FaZe.
Yeah, the problem is the Team Liquid already started to get a couple of shots across the field there. Jeems, Samty, and Ibby split up massively. That is where the Orms could be a danger. Now FaZe have to go back north. They can't run that southern field because they not only have Northern Lights, but they have Team Liquid there. That is not an ideal entry point. But now Phantom stands in the way. 80's on the receiving end, and Phantom puts him down. That should be a confirmed kill any day of the week. There it is. Phantom is doing really nicely for 3D Max as a 1-player man. But this gives respite for Northern Lights. Tomil could be a spoiler to Ibby here, keep in mind. I don't know if he wants to go for this yet. That could open up way more of a can of worms here. Uber and Muxi are moving up towards Phantom, who holds currently that eastern side, or at least the gateway to get in. Heel comes off and FaZe know where he is, but how much time can they spend on this? Not much, because look at Northern Lights, they're moving up.
They've gone into a 1-1 split. Mayacho's doing so much damage here. Knife in the back from nowhere. Can he continue the strike onto FaZe Clan? They cannot. Uber shuts it down, but he's been left at the mercy of having very little HP. They lost one during that engagement. Phantom has been such a problem holding this. He's basically smashed everything FaZe had going.
Wait, Tomil's just turned up and found Ibby. They were about to close down on 3D Max and FaZe. Tomil might have just saved everyone on his eastern side for a second. Where's the trade back? Tomil goes down finally to Jeems, but there was a second where that could have fallen apart, and suddenly it's Uber and Phantom up against Samty and Jeems. This is not over just yet. It should be Liquids, but there's a world in which this could go wrong. But sadly, if you look at the other 2 isolated players, the 1-man players, they've had so many fights. They have so little utility. They're so broken with their armor, with everything else, but they control the circle.
More importantly, because they've been in the least amount of engagements compared to these other 2 players,
Look at those names.
Their gear will be beautiful. Their utility will be stacked up to the max. Jeems holds a very different angle to what Samty does. He can play on the white, be the bouncer, dictate where these players go, relay the information to Jeems, and let him follow through with the headshots on the mark on the minute. For the simple fact, with that 8 times on the back, he can see all these players. He knows they have to come to him. I'm
worried if Jeems can't provide an angle towards where 3D Max's player might be for Samty. I don't know. Again, this is off the back of potentially Phantom just making a run for it. Jeems is good for Uber, and Samty can play off that. It's Phantom. If he somehow gets an isolated angle on Samty, it could go wrong. Here's the run. There's the first shot. It should be Uber suffering here. I don't think he's going to get away with it. Samty's trying to hold that side as Phantom's creeping slowly closer. Uber's had to show everything. That's Samty delivering. Now they know where Phantom is. It is perfection from Team Liquid, and you can't expect anything less. 1 by 1 they come, and 1 by 1 they fall. Another win for Liquid.
Jeems goes off onto his own. He stands the ground and basically signals Samty where these players are. He dictates the entirety of how that circle ended. He calls out Uber, who goes for the flank and heads downhill. Samty comes in, finishes off 1 player, and you know at that point in the game, the last player standing tries to make something happen. It always happens when there's a third-party engagement. You know there's a battle going on, so you will dive in. You will strike while the iron is hot. The player steps up at the final circle ending as it does begin to push him. Samty turns around, delivers the care package. Job done. Liquid, yet another win. Get the trophy. Stamp the name into it. Give the boys it now. They have played absolutely phenomenal all weekend.
Absolutely, and glad to see them picking up the actual confirmed win here. Again, a lot of the teams who were kind of around that second marker, everyone around that area was really suffering. This is good for FaZe, though. They kept 4